The Noodle Shop Bride, Pride, Regret and Second Chances. Ladies and gentlemen, in the vast treasury of our ancestral proverbs, our grandparents often taught us about the sacred bond of marriage through gentle, poetic verses. You surely remember the old saying, a husband and wife should be like a pair of chopsticks, though they may be separated, they are meant to be together. Or the sweet imagery of a humble meal where the husband serves the soup, and the wife tastes it, nodding in delight. It sounds so rustic, so incredibly romantic, doesn't it? A picture of a family that, despite poverty, finds absolute contentment in a simple bowl of broth. But, dear listeners, the cruel joke of life is that romance in poetry is one thing, while stepping into the rough, thorny reality of human existence is something entirely different. When hunger, poverty, and relentless failures knock on your door, even the most delicious soup turns bitter. No one has the heart to nod and praise the food when their stomach is empty and their spirit is broken. Today, I would like to share a story with you. A story in which you might see the shadows of people you know, or perhaps even see yourselves during the most turbulent years of your youth. The story takes place in a quiet, tree-lined alley tucked deep within the heart of the old city. Unlike the noisy, bustling streets outside, this alley possesses a strange, heavy silence. A silence that holds countless unspoken sorrows. At the entrance of the alley sits a beloved family restaurant, Mrs. Lin's Noodle House. It isn't flashy, there are no neon signs blinking in the window. But every morning at dawn and every evening at dusk, the aroma of rich, slow-simmered broth, roasted ginger, and fresh scallions drifts through the air, capturing the hearts and footsteps of countless passers-by. Helping Mrs. Lin run the restaurant every day is a young woman named Maya. This year, Maya just turned 28. The age, they say, when a woman's beauty and youth are at their absolute peak. Yet, if you ever get the chance to look at Maya, you will notice that her delicate, elegant face is always shadowed by a quiet, lingering sadness. Her eyes often stare into the distance, hiding storms that have passed through and left scars that will never fully fade. The tragic irony, dear listeners, is this: she has been married before. Yes, at 28, with a mature, captivating beauty, she carries the label of a divorced woman. Ever since her divorce 3 years ago, Maya has withdrawn into herself like a hermit crab retreating into its shell. She moved back in with her parents, spending her days chopping noodles, slicing meat, and serving customers. She quietly, stubbornly rejected every matchmaking attempt, ignoring her mother's nightly sighs and worried glances. Maya was terrified. She had given her heart completely, had been forgiving to the very end. And in return, she received only the shattered, irreparable ruins of a 3-year marriage. Maya remembered 3 years ago, her ex-husband, Marcus, was a young man full of ambition but lacking the luck of the times. He had started a tech venture, throwing himself into grand, unrealistic projects, only to face failure after failure. Massive debts crashed down upon the young couple. And so, love collapsed under the weight of rent, food, and survival. The day they signed the divorce papers, they parted in a suffocating, heavy silence. Since then, Marcus had vanished from her world. Rumor had it he had sold everything and gone overseas to make his fortune. As for Maya, she swallowed her bitterness, working herself to the bone, saving every single penny from the noodle shop to pay off the lingering debts Marcus had left behind. She endured in silence, never complaining to her parents. But, dear listeners, human life is like a winding river. The sharpest turns often come when you least expect them. One late autumn afternoon, a cold drizzle fell, making the air bite with a sharp chill. Mrs. Lin received a large catering order, 30 bowls of premium beef noodles to be delivered to a newly opened corporation on a bustling commercial street just a few blocks away. Maya quickly threw on a thin, translucent raincoat, loaded the insulated thermal containers onto her old, rattling Honda scooter, and drove into the rain. The scooter stopped in front of a towering glass skyscraper, its mirrored facade reflecting the glittering streetlights. Maya stepped into the lobby. The polished marble floor was so slippery she had to tiptoe, afraid her wet, muddy sandals would dirty the luxurious space. She walked up to the reception desk, gently setting the heavy containers down, and brushed her soaked, matted hair away from her forehead. Right at that moment, from the private executive elevator, a man stepped out. He was wearing a meticulously tailored navy blue suit, a crisp white shirt without a single wrinkle, and a loosely tied tie that exuded an indescribable aura of power. His posture was impeccable. His footsteps echoed confidently against the marble floor. Behind him, two assistants followed with their heads bowed, carrying thick stacks of documents. Maya accidentally looked up. And then, time seemed to stop. The air around her was suddenly sucked out of the room. She stood frozen as if struck by lightning. Her hands, holding the heavy food containers, began to tremble violently. The man's footsteps also halted. Their eyes met in the brilliantly lit, grand lobby. Ladies and gentlemen, that powerful, wealthy, and impeccably dressed man was none other than Marcus, the ex-husband who had vanished without a trace for 3 years. As the old saying goes, the earth is round, and those destined to meet will eventually cross paths. But to meet again in such a cruel, twisted circumstance is truly suffocating. Maya looked at her own drenched, pathetic appearance, and then at Marcus's glamorous attire. A surge of humiliation welled up in her eyes. As for Marcus, after a few seconds of shock, his eyes narrowed. A cold, mocking half-smile appeared on his sharp, angular face. He raised his hand to signal his assistants to wait, then slowly walked toward Maya. Maya. Long time no see. Marcus's voice was deep and warm, but cold enough to cut through flesh and bone. How have you been? Maya bit her lip, trying to regain her composure. I'm fine. You look different. Marcus shoved his hands into his pockets, leaning down slightly to look straight into her eyes, smirking. Different, indeed. Thanks to you, I found the motivation to rise up, to build this empire I have today. What brings you here? Looking for a job? Maya swallowed hard, pointing down at the food containers. No. I'm delivering food. Marcus nodded slowly, his gaze sweeping over Maya's plain, cheap clothes, revealing clear disdain. I mean, this is my company. What do you think of my empire? Is it big enough to contain your greed? Maya was stunned. Her eyes widened. Congratulations. Seeing you successful makes me happy. Marcus laughed out loud, a harsh, grating sound in the quiet lobby. Happy? How strange. Or perhaps, now that you see I'm successful, now that I'm a CEO, you feel regretful? Are you tearing your guts out because you dumped me when I was broke back then? What are you even talking about? Maya couldn't control herself anymore, her voice rising in disbelief. Marcus clicked his tongue and shook his head. Stop pretending to be innocent in front of me. I know exactly what you are. You are a gold digger, a materialistic woman. Back when I was bankrupt, when I was dirt poor, you quickly abandoned me to rely on your parents. Now that I've changed, you can't trick me anymore. With that, Marcus turned on his heel, not bothering to look back, leaving Maya standing frozen in place, a bitter lump forming in her chest. He stepped into the elevator, the doors sliding shut, cutting off the stunned gaze of his ex-wife. Maya stood there, her breath catching in her throat. Why? Why did he look at her with such hatred? Why could he utter words as sharp as knives, slicing through the silent sacrifices she had made for the past 3 years? She was trembling with rage, about to rush after him to demand an explanation. But a female employee walked up and gently patted her shoulder. Excuse me, are you here to deliver the noodles? Follow me to the pantry, please. Maya gritted her teeth, swallowing the lump of anger in her throat, and silently carried the containers away. When she walked back out, she looked up at the gleaming brass plaque at the entrance, Marcus Enterprises LLC. She scoffed. Just became successful for a little while, and the habit of looking down on people has already shown its ugly head. How disgusting. I hope you stay successful forever, because if your company ever goes bankrupt, I'll feel ashamed just looking at you. Maya muttered to herself, angrily putting her raincoat back on, starting her scooter, and plunging back into the cold drizzle of the city. The freezing wind slapped her face, mixing with the hot tears rolling down her cheeks. It just goes to show, dear listeners, that the human heart is the most fickle thing in the world. People can endure hardship together, but they don't always understand each other's sacrifices when wealth and glory arrive. When she got back to the restaurant, Maya parked her scooter in the corner and trudged inside with a grim face. The smell of the noodle broth, usually comforting, suddenly made her feel nauseous. Mrs. Lin was wiping down the tables. Seeing her daughter's pale, distracted face, she frowned. Maya, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost. What happened? Maya slumped onto a plastic chair, exhaling heavily. From now on, if that Marcus company calls to order food, don't sell to them. Cross them off the customer list. Mrs. Lin was surprised, putting her hands on her hips. Why? Did they complain the broth is bland? Or the meat is tough? No, they didn't complain about anything, Maya said bitterly. But Mom, didn't you hear the name? Marcus. Doesn't that sound familiar? Mrs. Lin squinted into the distance, muttering. Marcus, why does that sound familiar? Maya gave a bitter laugh. How could it not be familiar? Marcus is the terrible ex-husband you used to have. Mrs. Lin dropped the rag she was holding, her eyes widening in shock. Heavens! That Marcus? He's been hiding for 3 years. And now he opened a huge company? Yes. A massive, grand company. Looks like he's made it big. Mrs. Lin sighed, her voice softening. Well, he failed back then, and your marriage broke apart. Now he's doing well, that's his blessing. The past is the past, you should let it go. Why keep it in your heart and make it heavy? I let it go a long time ago, Mom. But do you know what he said to me when we met just now? Maya's voice trembled, tears threatening to spill. He called me a gold digger. He said I left him because he was poor. He humiliated me, Mom. He looked at me like I was garbage. Hearing this, Mrs. Lin's blood boiled. She slammed her hand on the table. That ungrateful bastard. Because of him, you had to suffer so much. You worked day and night to pay off that massive debt he left behind. It took you 2 years of relentless work to finish paying it off. And then there's the matter of. Mrs. Lin choked on her words, looking down at her daughter's flat stomach. Stop, Mom, Maya whispered, standing up abruptly. She didn't want to reopen that deep, festering wound. I'm going to my room. I'm tired, I want to sleep early. Maya. Mrs. Lin called out. If he's that despicable, tomorrow you go there, throw the debt papers in his face, and make him pay back the $500 million you worked yourself to the bone to cover. That's your sweat and blood, not clam shells to give away to that heartless man for free. Maya shook her head, her footsteps heavy as she climbed the creaking wooden stairs. Why ask for it, Mom? I never want to see his face again. Maya entered her room, closed the door, and threw herself onto the cold, single bed. The space around her became silent again, the sound of rain tapping on the tin roof outside like a hammer striking her mind. She told herself to forget Marcus's cruel words, to close her eyes and sleep. But the more she tried to escape, the more the painful memories of 3 years ago returned, vivid and sharp like shattered glass. 3 years ago, Maya and Marcus had a beautiful, dreamlike wedding, the perfect ending to a 3-year passionate college romance. Back then, Marcus wasn't the dashing, fiery CEO he is now. He was just a poor tech engineer, burning with ambition and the desire to start a business. Maya loved him for that spirit. On their wedding day, Maya silently took all the wedding gift money, and even the gold necklace her mother gave her, wrapped it up carefully, and gave it all to her husband as capital to open a small software office. But the business world is a battlefield. Not everyone with passion reaps success. Marcus hit wall after wall. Within 7 months, his small office was drowning in debt and forced to close. The first failure of his life dealt a fatal blow to his pride. Marcus became irritable, locking himself in his room, burying his head in unrealistic new projects, ignoring the outside world. Maya didn't complain. She gritted her teeth, hiding her anxiety, telling herself that a united couple could drain the Eastern Sea. By day, she helped her mother at the noodle shop until her feet ached. By night, she took on bookkeeping jobs for large restaurants until the late hours of the night. She worked like a machine, saving every penny to pay off the massive debt for her husband. But human strength has its limits. The days of overwork, poor eating, and sleepless nights drained the young woman. And then, the fateful day arrived. Maya fainted right in the middle of a pile of ledgers. Waking up in the hospital, the sharp smell of antiseptic stung her nose. Maya received a devastating blow from the doctor. She had suffered a miscarriage. Her first child, before it even took shape, had hurriedly left her. Her body was simply too weak. Maya lay still on the hospital bed, tears soaking the pillow. The room was terrifyingly silent. She was in agonizing pain, utterly lonely. All she craved was for her husband to hold her hand, to comfort her. But then, her phone rang, shattering the silence. It was Marcus. Maya trembled as she answered. Before she could let out a single sob, Marcus's cold, rushed voice echoed from the other end. Maya, can you call your parents or borrow from friends to get me another 200 million? This project is about to succeed. I just need a little more capital. Try to spin it for me, okay? I'll pay you back later. Before Maya could say a word, before she could ask where he was or how she was doing, Marcus hung up. The dry dial tone echoed in the silent hospital room, sounding exactly like the snapping of a red thread of fate. It just goes to show, dear listeners, that a man's thoughtlessness can sometimes be sharper than 1,000 knives. He was so obsessed with chasing his own shadow of glory that he trampled on his wife's sacrifice, and trampled on the pain of losing their child. Maya bit her lip until it bled, telling herself not to cry anymore. She hid the miscarriage, silently embracing the pain. After that, the distance between them grew. One worked herself to exhaustion to hold up the family, the other was blinded by ambition and delusions. Arguments started over the smallest things, leading to broken plates and slammed doors. Finally, when her endurance ran out, Maya placed the divorce papers on the table. Marcus signed them without a single attempt to hold her back. Maya packed her bags and went home. Marcus sold their small house and disappeared into the night, silent for 3 years. Maya closed her heavy eyelids, the past retreating, giving way to the darkness. The next morning, on the top floor of Marcus Enterprises, the atmosphere in the CEO's office was one of overwhelming luxury. The view overlooked the entire city, the sofas were wrapped in high-end leather, and the desk was a solid block of walnut wood. Marcus sat in his swivel chair, swirling a cup of black coffee, staring out the glass window. In his mind, the image of Maya, drenched and pathetic from yesterday, kept replaying. She's still the same, Marcus muttered, smirking slightly. Still that stubborn, gloomy face. Just then, the office door opened. Harrison, his close friend from college and now his trusted assistant and HR director, walked in. Harrison was a man in his early 30s, with a scholarly build, dressed elegantly in a modest shirt and round glasses, exuding a calm, intellectual aura. "Marcus, what are you thinking about? You're standing there like a statue," Harrison smiled, pulling up a chair. "We've been friends for 10 years, I can read your frown." Marcus sighed, putting the coffee down. "Harrison, I ran into Maya yesterday." Harrison was slightly taken aback, pushing his glasses up. "Really? Your ex-wife? How is she doing? Has she moved on?" "I don't know, and I don't care," Marcus snapped, his voice full of resentment. "She was delivering takeout noodles. Probably living off her mother's shop by now." Harrison frowned, his voice calm. "So when you met, what did you talk about? Didn't you ask how she was doing, just to be polite?" Marcus slammed his hand on the table, standing up and pacing the room. "Polite? What do I have to be polite about? We have nothing to do with each other anymore. To be blunt, I still hate her. You weren't here back then. When I was drowning in debt, when I was broke, I couldn't give her a luxurious life, and she immediately showed her true materialistic colors. She dumped me without a second thought. I will never forget those dark, humiliating days." Marcus leaned on the desk, his voice dropping to a dangerous growl. "In the coming days, I will make her see the light. I will show her that abandoning me was the biggest mistake of her life. I will make her regret it, make her feel ashamed for looking down on me." Harrison looked at his friend with concern, shaking his head and sighing. "So that's why you insisted on renting this expensive office space right at the entrance of her alley? You really want to take revenge on your ex-wife to such an extreme?" "Exactly." Marcus didn't hesitate. Harrison leaned back, intertwining his fingers. "Marcus, I don't think you should do this. You've been divorced for 3 years. The past, no matter how painful, is closed. I don't know how you treated each other back then, but you are a man, and you are in a position of success. Let it go. Don't stir up old grudges. Be a mature man, a decent ex-husband." "I know my limits, I won't break the law," Marcus snapped, waving his hand. "I just want her to torment herself, to feel humiliated by my glory." Harrison sighed, looking sharply at Marcus. "Stop lying to yourself. You hate her so bitterly, but in reality, you still have feelings for your ex-wife, don't you?" Marcus flared up, his face turning red. "Are you crazy? What feelings? I ran out of feelings for that gold digger 3 years ago. Stop talking nonsense." "All right, I'm talking nonsense," Harrison surrendered, raising his hands with a slight smile. "Let's put the romance aside. It's almost time for the board meeting. Get your documents ready, Mr. CEO." Marcus grumpily grabbed his files and walked out, leaving a long sigh from his best friend behind him. Meanwhile, in the kitchen of Mrs. Lynn's noodle house, thick with the aroma of spices, the atmosphere was tense. Dinner was served with simple dishes: boiled pork with shrimp paste, crab soup with spinach, and crispy fried fish. But no one was eager to eat. Mrs. Lynn and Mr. Lynn sat at the head of the table, opposite Maya, and next to her was Arthur, her older brother. Arthur was 30, still aimless, glued to his phone playing games all day, unmarried, childless, and an expert at mooching off his parents and talking back. Mrs. Lynn cleared her throat, breaking the silence. "Maya, I'm telling you now, this Saturday, take a shower, put on some nice clothes, and go on this blind date for me." Maya, mid-bite, choked and coughed. "What? Why are you suddenly making me go on a blind date? I told you, I'm not going." "No, not going. Mrs. Lynn slammed her chopsticks on the table. I've already talked to Mrs. Van from the yoga group. If you two hit it off, great. Maya frowned, putting her bowl down. Which Mrs. Van? I don't know her. And I've told you 100 times, I'm not going anywhere. I've decided not to get married again. I'll stay here and help you with the shop. Don't force me. Mrs. Lynn turned to complain to Mr. Lynn, then took her anger out on her daughter. You're only 28, your youth is blooming, what do you mean staying single? You tripped over a bad husband once and you're scared for life? If you don't marry, when your parents are old and gone, who will take care of you? You need a husband, a child to rely on. I don't need anyone to rely on, Maya argued back. If I don't have a husband, I'll rely on my nieces and nephews. Hearing the word nephews, Arthur, who was staring at his phone, suddenly jumped. He looked up to see Mrs. Lynn's sharp glare directed at him. Nieces and nephews? Where are they going to come from when your brother is 30, still playing around, no wife, no money? Mrs. Lynn scolded. Arthur, afraid of being implicated, quickly swiped his screen to turn off the game and chimed in to clear his name. Mom is absolutely right. Maya, listen to Mom. Go on the date. I heard the guy just came back from overseas, a bachelor, handsome, and rich. If you marry him, it's a blessing. If you don't marry and stay home, people will gossip that my sister is a spinster, it makes me lose face. Shut up. Maya glared at Arthur. I said I'm not going. Mom, don't force me. This isn't the feudal era where parents dictate everything. Seeing her daughter being stubborn, Mrs. Lynn changed tactics, pinching Mr. Lynn's arm. Look at your daughter, she's trying to walk all over me. Mr. Lynn calmly put down his wineglass, stroking his beard. Your mother and Arthur are right, Maya. You're young, your beauty is still there, you can't hide in this noodle shop forever. Go meet him once, consider it making a new friend. What's the harm? The three of them ganged up like a siege, surrounding Maya. The noise, the arguments, the threats, the sighs. All of it forced her into a corner. At this rate, if she didn't agree, life in this house would be hell. Her mother would nag from dawn till dusk, and her brother would take the opportunity to mock her. Maya had no other choice. She closed her eyes, sighed softly, and surrendered. Fine. I'll go. I'll go, okay? Just let me finish my rice in peace. Seeing Maya agree, Mrs. Lynn's face lit up, immediately picking up a piece of lean meat and putting it in her daughter's bowl. That's my good girl. Eat more, get some flesh on your bones so you look pretty on Saturday. Maya bowed her head, chewing her rice like it was straw. In her mind, a sudden curiosity mixed with suspicion arose. What was this guy's name? Her mother said he was a bachelor, just back from abroad, good family background. A man with such conditions, with so many young, beautiful women chasing him, why would he agree to a blind date with a divorced woman who was currently unemployed and working in a noodle shop? Was this guy mentally unstable, or did he have some unspeakable defect? Maya muttered to herself, her lips pursing. Fine. A blind date it is. I'll give this guy a scare so he runs away on his own, abandoning the idea right from the starting gate. The next morning, in Marcus's office, the atmosphere was livelier than usual. Harrison walked in, a bright smile on his face, looking as excited as someone who just won the lottery. Marcus, busy signing a mountain of papers, frowned and stopped his pen. What's wrong with you, Harrison? Did you win the lottery? Why are you grinning like an idiot? Harrison pulled up a chair, rubbing his hands together excitedly. Marcus, I have good news. This Saturday night, I'm going on a blind date. My mom asked an acquaintance to set it up properly. I heard this girl is amazing. I'm finally ending my single life. Marcus smirked, leaning back, hands behind his head. Really? Well. The Playboy Harrison, 10 years studying in the US, now submitting to a traditional match? Who is she? A CEO? A PhD? Harrison scratched his head, smiling innocently. No, she's not a CEO or a PhD. She helps her family run a restaurant. My mom says she's capable and filial. The only catch, she's been divorced once. Marcus, who was taking a sip of water, suddenly choked, his eyes widening as he stared at Harrison like he was an alien. What did you say? Divorced? A handsome, successful bachelor like you, with so many 20-year-olds around, why would you date a used woman? Harrison's face turned serious, pushing his glasses. What era is this, Marcus, that you still hold such outdated views? So what if she's divorced? They've been through a breakup, they know how to cherish happiness more. I don't care about the past, as long as we connect and understand each other. Marcus clicked his tongue, shaking his head. It's good that you think so openly, but I doubt your family will accept it. You haven't even met her tomorrow, who knows if she'll even like your scholarly face. Don't count your chickens before they hatch. I'm confident in myself, Harrison patted his chest. Look at me, tall, handsome, have a house, have a car, and I know how to pamper women. What's not to like? Oh, here's her photo. Mrs. Mai just sent it on Zillow. Look and see if she's pretty. Harrison pulled out his phone, intending to show Maya's photo to Marcus. But right at that moment, the phone on Marcus's desk rang loudly. It was an important call from a foreign partner. Marcus quickly grabbed the phone, waving Harrison away. Later. I have to take this. Go prepare the documents for me. Harrison had to put his phone away, shrugging as he walked out. It just goes to show, dear listeners, that the arrangement of fate is sometimes just a hair's breadth away. If Marcus had seen that photo, perhaps everything would have taken a different turn, without the towering storms to come. Back in the quiet alley, Maya called in sick that morning, lying in her room, refusing to go down to help at the shop. Her face was still swollen from crying all night. Downstairs, Mrs. Lin was chopping chicken, annoyed. Maya. Arthur. Where are you two? Come down and help me. The customers are rushing. Arthur, lying on a hammock, lazily replied. I'm here. Mom, act like the house is on fire. Maya is the one lying dead in her room. Her face is swollen like a balloon. Call her down. Mrs. Lin sighed, throwing her cleaver onto the cutting board with a loud clack. It's all because of that damn bastard. One day I'll go up there, point at his face and curse him until he's humbled. Ungrateful wretch. Arthur heard his mother cursing and curiously sat up, frowning. Who are you cursing, Mom? Who dared to mess with our Maya? Who else? Marcus, your sister's terrible ex-husband. Arthur was surprised, his eyes widening. Marcus showed up? He's been hiding for 3 years, where did he crawl out from? I heard he opened a huge company. CEO of Marcus Enterprises out on the main street. Yesterday your sister went to deliver food and ran into him. He was arrogant, humiliated her, called her a gold digger who left him because he was poor. Arthur's blood boiled. Despite his laziness, he loved his sister dearly. He had witnessed Maya working herself to the point of a miscarriage to pay off her husband's debts. And now that despicable bastard dared to return and humiliate her. What? He dared to humiliate Maya? Arthur growled, throwing his phone onto the hammock. That bastard. Maya worked day and night, selling her life for him, and now he dares to act like that? Mom, stay here. Let me go settle the score with him. Mrs. Lynn panicked, trying to stop him. Arthur, wait. If you go now, Maya will find out and make a scene. If you don't tell her, how will she know? Let me go, I'll smash that bastard's face. Saying and doing, Arthur grabbed a jacket, put on his flip-flops, started his rattling scooter, and sped off like a whirlwind. 15 minutes later, Arthur arrived at the lobby of Marcus Enterprises with the swagger of a street thug and eyes full of murderous intent. He bypassed the reception desk. The security guard ran after him. Hey, who are you looking for? Do you have an appointment? Get out of the way. Go tell Marcus his ex-brother-in-law is here to see him, he'll know. Arthur snapped. The guard, seeing the tension, ran to report. A few minutes later, Marcus had someone lead Arthur into the CEO's office. Just stepping through the oak door, seeing Marcus sitting arrogantly on his leather chair in his shiny suit, Arthur couldn't hold back. He rushed forward, slamming both hands on the desk with a loud bang. Marcus, you're quite something, you bastard. You dress so fancy, but your character has been eaten by dogs, hasn't it? Arthur pointed straight at Marcus's face, screaming. Marcus frowned, standing up to adjust his suit, his eyes cold. Arthur, watch your mouth. This is my company, not a market for you to cause a scene. Did I say it wrong? When I was poor, your sister despised me, packed her bags, and went back to her parents' house. That's the truth. The truth, my ass. Arthur's face turned red as a rooster. Do you know how my sister lived after you signed the divorce papers and hid like a rat? You left her a mountain of debt. Do you know she worked until she collapsed, fainting over and over, to pay off the debt for your honor? Marcus sneered slightly. Don't blame me. Her suffering has nothing to do with me. A materialistic woman like her. Shut up. Arthur roared, his eyes bloodshot. You are an ungrateful bastard. Listen clearly. Nearly 500 million. She worked day and night for 2 years to pay off the bank loans you took out in your name. I even had to beg my mother to sell our land in the countryside to help her pay your debt. Do you know that, you bastard? Marcus froze. The mocking smile on his lips vanished. His eyes widened in absolute shock. He took a step back, his voice trembling. What did you say? Maya paid the debt for me? You're making up stories to blackmail me, right? I wouldn't bother blackmailing trash like you, Arthur spat on the floor. Damn it, how was my sister so blind to fall for a scumbag like you? I'm telling you, if you dare show up in front of my sister and humiliate her one more time, I swear I'll smash this company of yours to pieces. Hear me? With that, Arthur turned around angrily, kicked the door shut with a loud bang, and left, leaving Marcus standing still as a statue in the large room. The space around him suddenly became terrifyingly silent. Marcus slowly collapsed into his chair, holding his head in his hands. 500 million. She paid the debt for me? Why didn't I know? Chaotic memories rushed back. It was true, before the bankruptcy, he had borrowed a huge amount from the bank and loan sharks. But after the divorce, he fled abroad, and the creditors didn't chase him. He thought the debt was frozen when the company collapsed. It turned out that the virtuous wife he constantly resented had bent her back to carry it all. Marcus felt his chest tighten, guilt and confusion intertwining. He quickly pulled out his phone, his trembling fingers searching for the old number. 3 years ago, out of hatred, he had blocked her. Now he unblocked it and pressed call. The long ringing tone echoed. She was still using the old number. Marcus's heart pounded wildly. He panicked, terrified, and quickly hung up. On the other end, Maya, sitting quietly in her room, saw her phone light up with a missed call. The name Marcus was clearly displayed. She was startled. Why is he calling me? Probably a wrong number. A man who despises me like trash wouldn't call. Maya told herself, intending to throw the phone away, but deep down, there was a tiny spark of anticipation. 30 minutes later, the phone rang again. Still Marcus. This time, Maya took a deep breath, gathered all her courage, and answered. Hello. Maya, it's me. Marcus's voice on the other end was deep and hoarse. Can we meet for a bit? I have something to say. If you have something to say, just say it over the phone. I'm busy, Maya replied coldly. It's not convenient over the phone. Meet me at the old fragrance coffee shop at the end of your street. Just for a bit. Without waiting for Maya to agree, Marcus hung up. Maya bit her lip, hesitated for a moment, and then decided to change her clothes and go out. She wanted to see what tricks this treacherous man was playing now. The old fragrance coffee shop was nestled under the shade of a changing autumn tree. The space was deeply nostalgic with rustic wooden tables, the sound of melancholic music drifting through the air. Marcus was already sitting quietly in the corner, his suit jacket unbuttoned, his face thoughtful. Seeing Maya walk in, he cleared his throat, pointing to the opposite chair. Sit. Want a drink? No need to beat around the bush. Say what you want to say. Maya pulled out the chair, crossing her arms, her eyes defensive. Marcus silently looked at Maya for a few seconds, then opened his genuine leather briefcase, pulling out 2 thick stacks of crisp, new $500 bills. He placed them heavily on the table. The thick stack of money exuded a cold, paper scent. I just heard from your brother that you paid off my $500 million debt, Marcus said, trying to keep his voice casual, but his eyes revealed a hint of arrogance. I don't know if he exaggerated, but I, Marcus, am generous and don't like owing anyone. That money is just pocket change to me now. Here, I'm paying you back. Consider it principal and interest for the years of youth you endured. Take it, and from now on, don't let your brother or anyone in your family show up in front of me to bother me again. Maya stared blankly at the 2 stacks of money. It just goes to show, dear listeners, when men have money, they think money can buy everything, including a woman's dignity and sacrifice. A surge of suffocating anger rose to Maya's throat. She smirked, a smile so bitter it reached her soul. Marcus, are you crazy? I didn't know my brother went to find you, but let me tell you, I never intended to come demanding that money from you. I already paid it. Consider it paying for the karma I owed you in a past life. I don't need your money. Seeing Maya refuse, Marcus's arrogant ego flared up. He clicked his tongue, smiling faintly. Come on, Maya. Don't play the high and mighty game in front of me. A materialistic woman like you, refusing money? Or do you think $1 billion isn't enough to satisfy your greed? Marcus reached into his briefcase again, pulling out 2 more stacks, throwing them onto the table. Here, $2 billion. It's enough for you to live comfortably, without having to smell like boiled chicken and sell noodles for the rest of your life. Shut up! Maya screamed. The anger in her erupted like a volcano. Without a second thought, Maya grabbed the glass of iced tea the waiter had just brought for Marcus and hurled it straight into his arrogant face. The cold, yellow liquid dripped down his perfectly gelled hair, over his wide, shocked eyes, and onto his pristine, branded white shirt. Listen to me clearly, Maya growled, tears streaming down her face but her eyes burning with fire. You bastard! Don't use your dirty money to trample on my self-respect. I'd rather starve to death than take a single cent from a cold-blooded man like you. Marcus wiped his face, angrily standing up, intending to curse back, but Maya was as fast as lightning, delivering a swift kick straight to his shin. Ouch! You dare! Marcus cried out in pain, clutching his leg and crouching down. That kick is for the tears I shed because of you. Get lost and never let me see your face again. With that, Maya turned on her heel and walked out decisively, leaving Marcus wet, in pain, and bewildered amidst the curious stares of the surrounding customers. Marcus grabbed a napkin, furiously wiping his face, grinding his teeth. Fine, refusing money? Acting so high and mighty. Hitting me? You're good, Maya. When Maya got home, her body was trembling with rage. The anger turned into a blazing fire in her chest. She paced back and forth in her room. Why is God so unfair? A treacherous, cruel man like him gets to be a CEO, gets to be rich, and uses money to humiliate me? No, I can't swallow this humiliation. I must take revenge. I must make him taste suffering. In her chaotic mind, Maya suddenly remembered seeing a sign at his company hiring for the quality control department. A bold, crazy idea flashed in her mind. That's it. I'll submit my resume. I'll become his employee to find a way to sabotage him, to take revenge from the inside. Maya busily opened her drawer, pulling out her job application files. But right at that moment, the door swung open. Mrs. Lin walked in, holding a feather duster, her face fierce. Maya! Do you remember you have a blind date tonight? Are you planning to wear these messy house clothes to meet Mrs. Van's son? Maya sighed wearily, the revenge plan she just sparked doused with cold water. I know. Just leave it. I know how to put on makeup. Maya sat in front of the mirror, deliberately taking her time, applying her makeup excruciatingly slowly. She plotted to arrive a full hour late. Arriving an hour late to a first date, plus the face of a divorced woman, would surely bore the guy and make him leave. Or if they did meet, it would be a terrible impression. Thus, the sabotage plan would be a perfect success. But Mrs. Lin, being the experienced mother she was, stood with her arms crossed at the door, observing her daughter. She clicked her tongue and dropped a chilling remark. Take your time, daughter. If you intentionally ruin this blind date, the 2 plots of land on the main road I was going to split between you and your brother, I'll transfer the red book entirely to Arthur. You'll stay single until you're old without a piece of land to your name. See what you have to boast about then. Hearing the words plots of land, Maya was startled. Not getting married, she had determined she needed assets to secure her old age. If her mother gave it all to her lazy brother, she would be left with nothing. Maya gritted her teeth, threw the lipstick on the table, stood up, and grabbed her bag. Fine. I'll go. I'll go properly, okay? You have to keep your promise. Maya grumpily took her bike out the door. Ladies and gentlemen, Maya didn't know that this blind date tonight would open a completely new turning point. A tearful and funny clash between a scarred, divorced woman and a bachelor who had studied in the US for 10 years. People often say fate is a magical thing. Some people you spend your whole life chasing, running with your legs in the air, only for them to coldly turn their backs. And some people you intentionally avoid, setting up nets and traps to drive away, just appear right in front of your eyes. That's the cruel joke of life. That evening, Maya reluctantly rode her old Honda out of the house. She wore a simple black silk dress, her makeup light, just enough not to embarrass her mother. The meeting point was a luxurious European restaurant on a central, tree-lined street. Maya parked her bike far away and slowly walked toward the restaurant. In her mind, she was drafting a dozen scenarios to play the villain, hoping to scare the bachelor named Harrison so much he would run away. But before Maya could even step through the revolving glass doors of the restaurant, an unexpected incident occurred. Robbery! Robbery! Someone save me! A piercing scream tore through the quiet atmosphere of the street. From the shadows, a young man in a black hoodie rushed out like an arrow, clutching a designer leather wallet, running straight toward where Maya was standing. In a crowded place, people panicked and scattered to the sides, standing frozen in fear. But Maya didn't. Years of chopping chicken, slicing noodles, and dealing with all kinds of drunk, rowdy customers at the market had forged godlike reflexes in her. Without a second of hesitation, Maya grabbed the solid oak chair the security guard had left carelessly outside, took a stance, and threw it with all her might at the robber's leg. Crack! The robber stumbled, tripped over the chair, and fell flat on the pavement, his face scraping the tiles. Maya rushed forward like lightning, using her knee to pin his back down, twisting his arms behind his back with a skillful self-defense move. Everyone watching was stunned, standing still, unable to believe their eyes. At this moment, a man in a modest plaid shirt and round glasses ran up from a distance, panting heavily. "My wallet! My wallet! Oh, thank goodness!" Maya coldly snatched the wallet from the robber, dusted it off, and held it out to the man. "Here. Check if you lost any documents." The man took the wallet, overjoyed. "It's all here. All of it. My important papers are in here. Thank you. You are so brave. You are truly a heroine. Oh, wait." The man suddenly froze, pushing his glasses up to stare closely at Maya, his eyes lighting up. "It's so familiar. Excuse me, are you Maya?" Maya frowned, wiping her hands. "Yes, I'm Maya. And you are?" "I'm Harrison. The man who has a dinner date with you tonight." Harrison smiled brightly, extending his hand. "I am truly happy and surprised to meet you in this circumstance." Ladies and gentlemen, if there had been a hole in the ground, Maya would have wanted to crawl right into it to escape the awkwardness. She was dumbfounded, stuttering. "Ah, yes, hello Harrison. It just goes to show that human calculation is no match for heaven's plan." The plan to make herself look bad hadn't even been executed, and Maya had accidentally scored a perfect 10 in the eyes of the bachelor, Harrison. Harrison had already had a good impression from the photo Mrs. Mai sent. Now, witnessing Maya's bravery and righteousness, the heart of the man who had studied in the U.S. for 10 years was struck by a sweet arrow of love. The two entered the restaurant. The space was quiet, the piano music melodious, the candlelight casting a glow on Maya's delicate face. Harrison sat opposite, his eyes unable to hide his infatuation. "Maya, I've heard a lot about you. I truly hope we have a chance to get to know each other." Maya cleared her throat, regaining her cold demeanor. She decided to play her final, fatal card to knock this lovesick guy off his feet. "Harrison, you know my situation clearly, right? I've been divorced once. A guy like you, aren't you bothered dating a used woman like me?" "I'm not bothered," Harrison answered quickly and decisively. "In this day and age, it's normal." Maya smirked, adding another blow. "But currently, I'm unemployed, living off my parents, slicing noodles to get by. Do you want to date someone with no stable future?" "Small matter," Harrison smiled warmly. "If we date, I can arrange a relaxing job for you. Or if you don't like working, just stay home, I'll take care of everything. I'll earn money to give you the best life." Maya started sweating. Is this guy crazy? She took a deep breath, unleashing the killer move. "You want to support me?" "Supporting me is expensive. Do you have your own house? A car? I hate living with in-laws. It's inconvenient. Every month you have to give me a large allowance for spas and shopping, you know. Hearing this, 99% of men on Earth would have run away at top speed. But unfortunately, Harrison belonged to the remaining 1%. Harrison calmly nodded. Rest assured. I have a private house in the center, 2 cars. My parents settled in the US and only come back to Vietnam once a year, so you'll never have to suffer as a daughter-in-law. As for shopping money, my supplementary credit card is always ready for you to swipe. Maya was speechless. She stared at Harrison as if looking at an alien. She gritted her teeth, deciding to drop the final bomb. A bomb no man could tolerate. She lifted her chin, acting nonchalant. Listen clearly. Even if you provide for me fully, I can't guarantee I'll be faithful to just you. I'm a passionate woman. I like new things. I could love many people at the same time. How about that? Scared yet? Saying that, Maya crossed her arms, leaning back in her chair, triumphantly, waiting for Harrison to stand up in anger, throw water in her face, and leave. But the space fell into silence. Harrison rested his chin on his hand, looking at Maya. The eyes behind his glasses sparkled with a strange tolerance. He smiled slightly, his deep voice echoing. It's okay, Maya. Just try dating me. A woman who has to call herself passionate proves that the man beside her before wasn't good enough, didn't give her enough security, so she had to put up her porcupine quills to protect herself. But once the man beside you is good enough, loves you enough, I believe you'll never look at anyone else but me. And I'm confident I can do that. Ladies and gentlemen, Harrison's words were like a cool stream, washing away all the stubborn, thorny walls Maya had deliberately built. She was speechless. She had bared all her fangs, but he used gentleness to dissolve them all. In the end, Maya had to swallow her pride, take out her phone, and exchange contact information with Harrison in total surrender. That night, Maya returned home. Just as she turned into the alley, she saw Mrs. Lin holding the feather duster, standing grimly in front of the living room. Maya, confess. What monkey business did you do to ruin the blind date? Mrs. Van just texted me, I haven't even dared to read it. Mrs. Lin slammed the duster on the ground. Maya shrank her neck, raising her hands in surrender. Mom, put the duster down. Don't hit the innocent. I didn't ruin it. He and I exchanged numbers. He even said he wants to get to know me more. Mrs. Lin froze. The feather duster dropped to the floor. Her wrinkled face suddenly relaxed, blooming like a spring flower. She ran over, threw the duster away, and hugged Maya tightly. Oh my God, really? My daughter is so good. Are you hungry? I just chopped a big plate of chicken thighs. Let me bring it up for you to nourish yourself. Mom, eating at night makes me fat. If I get chubby, he'll run away. I'm going to sleep. Maya slipped past, muttering. Scary, almost got a beating for nothing. Just as Maya lay down on the bed, her phone vibrated. A text from Harrison, I just got home and I already miss your smile. Good night, my heroine. Maya read it, let out a long sigh, threw the phone aside, and pulled the blanket over her head. In her heart, 100 emotions tangled. The shadow of the terrible ex-husband Marcus and the strange warmth of Harrison intertwined, tearing at her mind. Ladies and gentlemen, as the saying goes, misfortunes never come singly. The next morning, the city was covered in a light fog. Maya was busy loading noodle containers onto her scooter to deliver to a customer. When she reached a blind curve, the road was slippery. A sleek black Mercedes coming from the opposite direction sped up, taking the turn sharply. The car scraped hard against Maya's scooter. The impact threw her onto the cold asphalt. The scooter skidded, the noodle containers shattered. Hot broth, white noodles, and golden beef slices splattered everywhere. The smell of star anise and cinnamon rose sharply in the gloomy air. Ah, it hurts. Maya grimaced, clutching her bleeding elbow, trying to push herself up. The Mercedes door opened. A man in shiny leather shoes and pressed trousers stepped out. Maya looked up, and her blood boiled. It was Marcus. Cruel fate, meeting again in such a miserable circumstance. Marcus stood still, staring at his ex-wife covered in noodle broth. Instead of helping her up or asking if she was okay, he sneered and dropped a bone-chillingly cold sentence. You again? Truly a bad omen. Maya gritted her teeth, suppressing the pain, and shouted, Marcus, how are you driving? Taking a curve like a madman, hitting me and spilling all my goods. Don't you know how to open your mouth and apologize properly? Marcus sighed wearily, looking tired. He slowly reached into his suit pocket, pulled out a thick stack of cash, walked over, and threw it onto the ground right next to where Maya was sitting. The bills fluttered, falling into the puddle of noodle broth. You didn't get seriously hurt. Here's the compensation for the cheap noodles and the scrap metal of your scooter. Take it and don't play the victim with me. We're even. Saying that, Marcus turned to get back in the car. His indifferent, treacherous attitude was like pouring oil on the blazing fire in Maya's heart. Her patience had reached its absolute limit. Even my ass. Maya roared. In a fit of rage, she took off the plastic sandal she was wearing and, with all her might, hurled it like a hammer at the back of Marcus's head. Thwack! The sandal hit its mark, hitting Marcus hard on the head, making him stumble forward, almost smashing his face into the car hood. You crazy bitch! You dare! Marcus clutched his head, turning around to glare at Maya. I dare, you bastard! You think having money gives you the right to trample on others? I swear I will never forgive you. Maya stood up straight, ignoring her bleeding wound, pointing straight at Marcus's face. Marcus was angry, but seeing the fire in Maya's eyes and the passers-by starting to gather and point, he had to swallow his anger, got in the car, and slammed the door. Before speeding off, Marcus deliberately rolled down the window and stuck his tongue out to taunt Maya. Maya stood still, watching the Mercedes disappear into the fog, her hands clenched so tight her nails dug into her flesh. Around her was the wreckage of her scooter, the shattered noodle containers. A feeling of ultimate humiliation and frustration rose up. You bastard, if I don't get revenge for this humiliation, I swear I'm not human. But how to take revenge? He was high up, a CEO protected by security. She was just a lowly noodle seller. Maya sat on the curb, her mind spinning. Suddenly, a spark of light flashed in her head. Harrison. Harrison is the HR director at his company. If I ask Harrison to get me a job there, I'll have the chance to get close, to throw a wrench in the gears, to take revenge on that hateful Marcus. Thinking and doing. Putting aside her hesitation, Maya took out her phone, deciding to use the honey trap. She called Harrison. Hello, Harrison. Maya changed her voice, sounding soft and coquettish, completely different from her usual self. Maya, your voice sounds different. Are you tired? Harrison was anxious on the other end. No, Harrison, I have a favor to ask. I don't want to sell noodles anymore. I see Marcus Enterprises is hiring for the quality control department. You're the HR director. Can you help me get in? Harrison was overjoyed, like catching a goldfish. The innocent guy didn't know he was being turned into a pawn in the beauty's revenge play. You want to work at my company? Working there means being close to me. Aren't you scared? Being close to Harrison is a good thing, Maya flirted sweetly. Harrison laughed out loud, delighted. Great, great. I'll handle it. Prepare your documents. Tonight I'll come by to pick them up, and tomorrow morning I'll submit them for you to start work. Leave it to me. And so, dear listeners, just thanks to a word from Harrison, the very next morning, Maya was proudly present at the Marcus Enterprises building as a probationary employee. Harrison picked her up at the alley in his car and even took her out for a proper breakfast of beef pho. On her first day, Maya wore a crisp white shirt, tailored trousers, and her hair tied up elegantly. She no longer looked like the messy girl from before, but a beautiful, sharp office lady. Harrison walked beside her, the two happily entering the lobby. They stepped into the executive elevator. But the cruel joke of life struck again. When the elevator doors opened, a tall figure was already standing inside. It was CEO Marcus. Marcus had his hands in his pockets, his face cold. Looking up and seeing Maya, his eyebrows twitched, knitting into a tight line. What the hell are you doing here? Marcus blurted out, his eyes shooting daggers. Harrison, who didn't know Maya was the ex-wife Marcus hated to the bone, since Harrison was in the US during their wedding, seeing his boss question his girlfriend with hostility, quickly stepped in front of Maya, smiling proudly. Ah, Marcus, let me introduce you. This is Maya, the girlfriend I'm getting to know. The one I told you about yesterday. I just hired her for the quality control department. Maya, this is Marcus, our CEO. Maya smirked slightly. She wasn't intimidated at all, boldly stepped forward, and casually hooked her arm through Harrison's elbow. Maya tilted her head, smiling brightly, but her eyes were sharp as knives, extending her hand to Marcus. Hello, CEO Marcus. Very pleased to work under your command. Ladies and gentlemen, if there had been a blood pressure monitor right then, Marcus's blood pressure would have surely exceeded the limit. Marcus was stunned, shocked to the point of taking a step back, his back hitting the elevator wall with a thud. He had to grab the stainless steel handrail to keep his balance. His hands trembled, his knuckles turning white. Before Marcus's eyes was an unbelievable scene. His best friend, his brother of 10 years, was holding hands affectionately with the materialistic ex-wife he hated to the bone, calling her his girlfriend. The earth seemed to stop spinning for Marcus in that moment. After the earth-shattering shock in the elevator that day, CEO Marcus stumbled back to his office like a lost soul. He threw his expensive suit jacket onto the sofa, ruffled his hair, pacing the room like a caged beast. His chest heaved, sweat beading on his forehead. His ex-wife was working in his company, his best friend was passionately pursuing her, and he was the one being jealous. Marcus was furious. He rushed to the desk phone, intending to call HR to fire Maya immediately, but strangely, his hand trembled, freezing in mid-air. He couldn't bring himself to do it. He slammed the receiver down in frustration. A few minutes later, Harrison burst in, his face still radiant. Marcus growled, trying to maintain his arrogance. Harrison, you know she's my ex-wife and you still dive in? Are you trying to make a joke of me? Harrison calmly pushed his glasses, answering decisively. I told you, her past is you, but her present and future will be me. What's past is past. I'm telling you straight, if you plan to fire Maya, prepare the termination letter for me too. Marcus stood frozen. Harrison's determination was like a slap in the face to Marcus's selfishness. He had to swallow his pride, letting the couple work right under his nose, enduring the eye-watering, thorn-in-the-side sight every day. That afternoon, Marcus drove home with his nerves stretched to the breaking point. His luxurious penthouse on the 35th floor was always cold and empty. His younger sister, Chloe, a final-year university student, just returned from school. Seeing her brother's gloomy face, she ran out to ask. Marcus sighed heavily, venting his frustration about wanting to fire Maya but being blocked by Harrison. He hoped to find sympathy from his sister. But Marcus didn't expect that. Upon hearing this, Chloe jumped up, her face red with anger, pointing straight at her CEO brother. "You are a bastard. Wasting the sister Maya's youth, selling her life for you. Now you open your mouth to fire her. Don't you feel a pang of conscience?" Marcus frowned, annoyed. "I'm your biological brother. You don't side with me, you side with that outsider? She left me when I was poorest. Don't you remember? Outsider my foot." Chloe screamed, tears welling up. "Listen to me. I plan to keep this hidden because I promised Maya. But seeing you being so excessive today, I have to speak. 3 years ago, when you buried your head in delusional projects, locking yourself in your room, do you know Maya worked until she collapsed and suffered a miscarriage?" What? Marcus was stunned, his ears ringing as if a bomb had exploded beside him. "Yes, she miscarried, stayed in the hospital for 3 days in lonely silence, without her husband by her side. I was the one who brought food to the hospital to care for her. At that time, you called demanding money. She gritted her teeth, enduring the pain, telling me not to tell you because she was afraid you'd be stressed and quit. She shouldered the debt, paying off hundreds of millions for you, and even secretly sent money for my tuition when you went to the US. And you dare call her a gold digger who left you when you were poor? In this world, you will never find a second woman who loves you to the end like her." Ladies and gentlemen, hearing the truth revealed from his sister's mouth, Marcus felt as if someone had taken a sledgehammer to his chest. The whole sky seemed to collapse before his eyes. Old memories suddenly rushed back, sharp and vivid. Behind the materialism he imagined was a sky of silent sacrifice, the unshed tears of losing a child of his virtuous wife. Marcus collapsed onto the cold floor, holding his face in his hands. The tears of a man in his 30s, who had weathered so many storms in the business world, now flowed freely. He cried choked sobs, crying in ultimate regret, too late, and bitter. "I am truly a bastard, the most despicable bastard in the world." Marcus sobbed, screaming in the empty room. That night, the clock struck 11 p.m., the city drizzling again. Marcus couldn't control himself, driving straight to Maya's alley. Mrs. Lynn's noodle shop had closed its doors. From afar, Marcus saw Maya's thin figure bending over, carrying out the trash. The yellow streetlight cast on her haggard face, making Marcus's heart ache. He gathered all his courage, stepped out of the car, and walked toward Maya. "Sell me a bowl of noodles. I'm starving." Marcus's voice was hoarse, his eyes pleading, without a trace of the arrogant CEO from the morning. Maya turned around, startled. She was still dazed, thinking she was seeing things, when from inside the house, Mrs. Lynn and Arthur rushed out with brooms and sticks like a whirlwind. "You bastard, you still have the face to come here? Get lost. Maya is about to marry Harrison, don't come here to cause trouble." Mrs. Lynn cursed fiercely. Arthur swung his stick wildly. "If you don't get lost, I'll break your legs." Marcus had to retreat, standing helplessly, watching the iron door slam shut, locking the image of the woman he loved inside. In the silent night, only his regretful tears fell, mixing with the rain. But dear listeners, as the saying goes, fire near hay will eventually catch, and enemies on a narrow road will always have many tricks. The next day at the company, Maya decided to take revenge on Marcus for his arrogant attitude earlier. Knowing Marcus was severely allergic to lily pollen, while everyone was at lunch, Maya secretly hugged a fragrant bouquet of lilies and stuffed it right under Marcus's desk. That afternoon, while Marcus and Harrison were in a meeting, Marcus suddenly broke out in red rashes, itching all over his body. He scratched frantically, unable to breathe, and rushed down to the parking garage, driving straight to the hospital for emergency care, hooked up to N4 for a day and night. The next day, Marcus returned to the company. Maya was certain she would be fired on the spot. But when she was called into the CEO's office, instead of brutal curses, Marcus looked at her with deep, tearful eyes. "Maya, I didn't die from the allergy, but I'd rather die than live without you. I know everything now. About your miscarriage, about you paying my debt. I'm sorry. If time could turn back, I would trade all this empire just to exchange for your peace." Saying that, Marcus stepped forward and hugged Maya tightly. A tight embrace after 3 years of separation. Maya stood still, stunned. She struggled to push Marcus away. "What are you doing? Let me go. We're even." "No, I owe you a lifetime. Forgive me, Maya." Faced with the sincere tears of the man, Maya's frozen heart suddenly softened. Though her mouth was still stubborn, deep down, Marcus's shadow had never truly faded. She sighed, pushing Marcus away, her voice light. "Fine, I forgive you. From now on, consider it wiped clean, don't bring up the past." Just those words, Marcus felt reborn. From that day on, the battle for the beauty's heart between Marcus and Harrison officially erupted, leading to tearful and funny situations. On a weekend evening, both Marcus and Harrison coincidentally bumped into each other in front of Mrs. Lynn's noodle shop. The two handsome, successful men glared at each other, fighting to enter the shop, almost breaking the door hinges. Mrs. Lynn frowned, throwing the table rag down. "What are you two doing? If you're eating noodles, say so." Harrison tilted his chin, challenging. "Marcus, dare to compete with me? Whoever loses automatically withdraws and gives up on Maya." When men are jealous, their pride is as big as a din, communal house. Marcus nodded fiercely. The two ordered 20 special bowls of noodles, thick slices of beef piled high on the table. Under the refereeing of Arthur, the competition began. Harrison managed to swallow 6 bowls before his stomach was as tight as a drum, sweating like a shower, and had to wave the white flag. As for Marcus, for love, he closed his eyes and swallowed 10 bowls. He won, truly majestic. But just stepping out of the shop, Marcus rushed to the banyan tree at the alley entrance, vomiting green and yellow bile. It just goes to show that love has the power to make people do the craziest things. Seeing that physical competition didn't work, Marcus had to use the bitter flesh trick. He conspired with his sister Chloe to set a trap. That evening, Harrison was luring Maya to the movies when Maya's phone rang. It was Chloe calling, her voice panicked and crying. "Sister Maya, Marcus is very sick, high fever, delirious. No one is home, please come save him." Hearing Chloe's heart-wrenching cries, Maya had no mind for movies. She apologized to Harrison and took a taxi straight to Marcus's apartment. Arriving, she saw Marcus lying still on the bed, his face pale. Maya felt incredibly sorry. She hurried to the kitchen, cooking a pot of ginger and perilla porridge to break the fever, personally feeding him spoon by spoon. Memories of their poor but warm newlywed days rushed back, making their eyes meet with awkwardness and fluttering hearts. After eating, Marcus pretended to go take a shower to cool down. Maya sat outside waiting. Suddenly a loud thud came from the bathroom. Maya panicked, pushed the door open. Before her eyes was Marcus lying on the floor, without a towel covering his body, groaning in pain in the narrow, steamy, warm space. Marcus's muscular body hit Maya's eyes, making her face flush red, squeezing her eyes shut and stepping back. But the cunning Marcus wouldn't miss this golden opportunity. He lunged up, reaching out to pull Maya into his arms, pressing her against the wet tiled wall. "Marcus! What are you doing? Let me go. You're sick." Maya stammered, her heart pounding wildly. "I'm sick, but just holding you makes me better. Maya, I miss you so much, I'm going crazy." Marcus whispered in her ear, his breath hot, and then he covered his lips over hers. A passionate, fervent, and longing kiss after 3 years of restraint. Though her reason told her to push away, instinct and deep love in the woman's heart won. That night, all grievances, misunderstandings, and sulking were resolved in the loving embrace of forgiveness. The next morning, when Maya woke up, she realized she had fallen into the sweet trap of the fake sick man. She punched Marcus's chest in blame, but Marcus just laughed happily, holding her tight, promising a lifetime of protection. Cruelly, God arranged fate for more than just one couple. The night before, Harrison, abandoned by Maya to care for Marcus, drove aimlessly and accidentally scraped against Chloe's scooter. The two, who had hated each other before, now clashed, standing in the middle of the road arguing so loudly that the traffic police had to invite them both to the station to settle it. Midnight, Marcus had to get dressed, rushing to the station to bail out the two narrow road enemies. Just leaving the station, a dejected Harrison invited Chloe out for a drink to vent. Who knows what magic the alcohol brought? The US-studied bachelor and the stubborn student found a strange harmony. They became a couple from that night. After all the storms, Marcus took Maya's hand back to the small house in the quiet alley. He knelt before Mrs. Lynn, tears in his eyes, swearing before the ancestral altar that he would never let Maya shed a single tear of humiliation again. Mrs. Lynn, seeing this, softened her heart. Though her mouth was still sharp, seeing a CEO who every night rolled up his shirt sleeves to squat and wash dishes at the Noodle shop to help his wife, she nodded in approval. Half a year later, a grand wedding was held again. This time, Maya's smile was truly radiant and fulfilled, because in her belly was the second child. Harrison and Chloe were also busy preparing for their wedding carriage. The four of them, going through so many twists and turns of fate, finally found their peaceful harbor. Ladies and gentlemen, the story of Maya and Marcus closes here. As the old saying goes, it takes 100 years to share a boat, 1,000 years to share a pillow. The bond of husband and wife is sacred, it is deep. Yet in the rushed wheel of daily survival, people easily lose each other just because of a too large ego, because of the silence of not confiding, and sometimes because of invisible pressures that blur reason. Marcus was once wrong when he let ambition overshadow his wife's sacrifice. He was once blindly hateful, but fortunately, life still gave him a chance to redeem his mistakes. And Maya, though carrying the scars of injury, ultimately chose to open her heart, chose forgiveness to embrace happiness once again. It just goes to show that true love is not about never arguing, never stumbling. True love is when people have gone through storms, have seen through each other's bad habits, have even deeply hurt each other, but ultimately still decide to hold hands, forgive, and move forward. Life is short, dear listeners. If we are lucky enough to have someone willing to sacrifice for us, willing to endure hardship for us, please cherish them with all our life. Don't wait until they are lost to regret and mourn. Because not everyone in this world is lucky enough to have a second chance like Marcus. Tolerance and understanding are always the universal key to open the door to perfect happiness. Once again, I sincerely thank you for spending your time listening to this story full of ups and downs. Wishing you and your family always peace, keeping the warmth in your souls, and always cherishing the life partners walking closely by your side. Respectfully farewell, and see you again in the next stories.